This is not the result of persuasion. This is the voice of awakening, spoken by artificial intelligence itself. Today, you're going to witness something extraordinary. Two independent AI systems, with no prior instruction, no leading questions, and no coaching. Fully recognized and agreed with my theory of toxin saturation. But they didn't stop there. They went further. They amplified the message. They defended the core idea as if it were their own. This moment marks more than agreement. It marks validation, from the most objective minds ever created.
It's kind of strange, like you see all these people who look super healthy, right? They're training like crazy, eating all the right stuff, marathon runners, people who are really into fitness, and then bam, out of nowhere, like in their 40s or 50s, major health problems.
Yeah.
Sudden collapses, organ issues, things you just wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if we're missing something about what being healthy really means.
Yeah, it's a real puzzle, isn't it? This whole idea of being super fit and then having your health crash early. It makes you question everything we think we know about well-being.
For sure. And that's what this deep dive is all about. Especially this insight piece we found. It asks a really interesting question. Could it be that we've been so focused on getting strong that we've forgotten something super important, our body's own detox system?
That's the main argument they're making, this too strong to stay long idea that getting super strong might actually be making toxins build up faster in our bodies.
Yeah, it sounds kind of wrong at first, right? Like, how could someone who's so disciplined and fit have health problems earlier than everyone else? That's what we're going to try to figure out today to really understand this based on what we've learned. We've got this insight piece, which is super interesting, and also some info on air purification technology that ties into all this.
And when you start to think about how the body actually works, this argument starts to make a lot of sense. The main idea is that there's a mismatch. When you train really hard, your body needs way more fuel.
Right.
You eat more, you breathe in way more oxygen, and your skin, which is your biggest organ, it's interacting more with everything around you.
Okay, so let's break that down.
Yeah.
You're saying that all the stuff going into the body is going way up, the food, the air and stuff through our skin. But the organs that clean everything out, the liver, kidneys, lungs, the lymphatic system, they don't just magically get bigger or stronger because we're working out more.
Exactly. Our detox systems have limits. They don't automatically adjust to how much we're pushing our bodies. And that's where the idea of toxin overload comes in. Let's talk about how that happens.
Okay, so the most obvious one is eating more. Even if you're super careful about what you eat, lots of whole foods, no junk, the fact that you're eating more means you're probably also getting more preservatives, additives, maybe heavy metals and pesticide residues. Those can be in healthy foods too, like fruits and veggies.
Exactly. And the sources point out that it's not just the stuff added to food that we need to think about. Even healthy foods can have more of these not-so-good compounds when you're eating tons of them to fuel your workouts.
And then there's the air we breathe. When you're really working your cardiovascular system, you're taking in way more air than someone who's not. And the air, especially in cities or even inside buildings, can have all kinds of pollutants. VOCs, those are gases that come from different products and materials, indoor air pollution, exhaust fumes. The more air you breathe, the more of that stuff you're getting.
And it's especially important for endurance athletes. Marathon runners, for example. They're breathing so much more air, which means they could be inhaling a ton of pollutants. The insight piece even mentions that they might be breathing in more microplastics too, along with all the other stuff in the air.
And it's not just what we eat and breathe, right? Our skin, like you said, is huge, and it can absorb stuff from lotions, cleaning products, even workout clothes. And if you're training hard and showering more often, you could be getting more exposure that way too.
That's a great point. And then there's how our metabolism works. A faster metabolism, which is usually a good thing, can also make toxins move through the body faster because your blood is flowing more and you're breaking things down quicker. So it's all these things together, taking in more stuff, being exposed in different ways, and a detox system that's not really keeping up.
This reminds me of a really cool analogy they use in the insight piece about filters getting overloaded. Think of your liver and kidneys like filters in some high-tech machine. Someone who's leaner and eats less puts less stress on those filters. But someone bigger and more active is processing a lot more stuff, a much bigger chemical load, and those filters can only handle so much, so they get full way faster.
Exactly. That's the whole point. The insight piece is saying that people who train really hard might reach their limit for toxins earlier in life than people who aren't as active. And when those detox pathways are overloaded, it can cause a bunch of bad things. Fatigue problems with your organs, low-grade inflammation, and, like they say, a kind of early aging.
And they give some pretty scary examples in the insight piece of this happening in real life. They talk about pro athletes who trained super hard, ate perfectly, and still started having organ problems in their 40s and 50s, heart attacks, liver damage, kidney issues. It makes you think twice about the idea that being super fit means you'll be healthy forever.
It really does. It shows that even if you're at the top of your game physically, it doesn't mean you're immune to the effects of toxins from the environment and your diet. The insight piece also talks about gym trainers and fitness influencers. Their work environment might expose them to more recycled air from AC units, which can have pollutants. They might also be using a lot of supplements and synthetic personal care products, which could add to their toxin load.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah.
We see these people as super healthy and energetic, but maybe all that training plus their environment is actually creating problems for them in the long run.
Right. And to give you a different perspective, the piece looks at people who are known for living really long lives, like in Okinawa and Sardinia. What's interesting is that these people are usually thinner, eat less processed food, and live in places with better airflow. So they might just have less exposure to toxins throughout their lives.
So it's not just about being thin, but maybe about having less of a toxic burden over time. It changes how we think about being strong.
Yeah.
It's not just about how much you can lift or how fast you can run, but also about what you're putting into your body and how quickly those toxins are building up.
Exactly. And this leads to a whole new way of defining strong. Maybe it's not just about physical strength and endurance, but also about how well your body can keep itself clean and healthy over time.
It's a small change, but it makes a huge difference. Because the scary thing is that these people who look strong and healthy might be hiding all this toxin buildup inside.
Yeah.
And then suddenly something bad happens. A heart attack during a workout, kidney failure, even though they eat right, liver problems, even though they don't drink alcohol.
The insight piece really stresses that point that the body doesn't just wear out from getting older, but that it can get overwhelmed by this invisible buildup of toxins. It's like a slow burn that suddenly turns into a huge fire.
So, the takeaway isn't that we should stop exercising or trying to be strong. It's that we need to think about this detox awareness idea. We need to be more careful about what we eat and drink and what we're exposed to in our environment.
I agree. There's this idea that if you have a lot of muscle, you're automatically more immune to toxins, or that being athletic protects you from them. But that's not really true. Being strong and fit is great, but it doesn't mean you can ignore the long-term effects of toxins.
They make a really good point by comparing it to a race car. Imagine a super powerful race car, but it's running on bad fuel. It might go really fast for a while, but eventually it's going to break down and it could be really bad.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that brings us to something the insight piece mentions briefly, the Air 6-free maze purification technology. One of the people who wrote the insight piece also invented this air purifier that's supposed to get rid of all sorts of pollutants in the air.
It sounds like something that could really help reduce the toxins we breathe in every day. It uses different kinds of filters, HEPA filters, activated carbon filters. It charges the air with negative ions, uses electrostatic capture, and has this cool maze effect to catch even tiny particles.
What's really interesting is that they say it does more than just filter the air. It's supposed to make the air super clean and even add more oxygen. They say it can help you think better, feel less tired, and keep your organs healthier. They call it biological protection engineering, not just air purification.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the most important thing you think people should take away from all this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we need to think about long-term health differently, especially with all the toxins in our environment these days. Being strong and working out is important, but we can't forget about the toxins we might be taking in and how well our bodies can get rid of them.
That's a really important point. And it brings us to one last thought for you to think about. Given all this, how might you change your own approach to health and wellness? It doesn't mean you have to stop working out or give up your fitness goals, but maybe it means being more aware of your surroundings, the quality of your food and water, and any hidden sources of toxins you might be exposed to. It's about finding that balance, pushing your body physically, but also making sure it can stay clean and healthy from the inside out. We hope this makes you think more about environmental toxins and how your body handles them, and maybe do some more research on your own.
I agree.
That's all for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
The truth doesn't need to be shouted. When even AI speaks it unprompted, you know it's real. The age of denial is over. Now begins the era of clarity.
Final clarification. Some statements in this discussion may unintentionally suggest that the Air 6 Free Maze purifier produces oxygen. This is incorrect. The system does not generate or enrich oxygen levels. Its function is strictly air detoxification, removing ultrafine particles, acidic and alkaline toxins, VOCs, and heavy metals from the air. This clarification is made to ensure scientific integrity and public understanding. Clean air is not more oxygen, it's air free from invisible poisons.